Imagine you manage an incredibly complex, high-stakes manufacturing plant, right?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
So you walk onto the factory floor one morning, and overnight, all the specialized machinery, the intricate control panels, the diagnostic monitors, they've just been completely stripped out.
Oh, wow. Just a totally empty floor.
Exactly. And sitting in the middle of this giant empty warehouse is just a single microphone and a sticky note that says, uh, just yell what you want and we'll build it for you.
That sounds like some kind of sci-fi utopia.
It does. Until you realize you just need to manually tighten like one specific bolt on a single machine, and suddenly you have absolutely no way to do it.
Right, because the tools are gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So welcome to the deep dive. Today we are jumping straight into Aaron Rose's Tech Reader AI Digest for Wednesday, May 20, 2026.
And it's a massive one today.
It really is. Our mission for you today is to decode a massive paradigm shift that just happened at Google I/O. Because the era of the AI model race, that's over.
Yeah, it is officially done. We've entered the AI agent and distribution race.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because I was watching the Google I/O wrap-up, and I kept waiting for them to drop some massive new frontier model.
Right, like a new AI that writes better poetry or aces the bar exam in 3 seconds.
Yeah. But the absolute biggest news from the entire event wasn't a model at all.
No, it wasn't.
It was this complete, fundamental restructuring of how software code itself is going to be written moving forward.
It is a critical moment to analyze because this digest, it really effectively captures the end of an era.
Yeah.
For the last, 3 or 4 years, the entire tech industry has been just utterly consumed by that model race you mentioned.
Right, the pure intelligence contest.
Exactly. Who has the smartest standalone chatbot who can achieve the highest scores on those complex reasoning benchmarks? But reading through the coverage this week, it becomes abundantly clear the industry has moved on.
They're playing a totally different game now.
They really are. We are watching AI shift from a discrete tool you actively choose to consult into this invisible, autonomous infrastructure that just runs our daily lives in the background.
Right, so to understand the mechanics of this shift, we have to look really closely at their biggest technical announcement, which was Anti-Gravity 2.0.
Yes, Anti-Gravity 2.0.
Which is a standalone desktop application. But unlike traditional software, it's built entirely around a concept called agent orchestration.
Right, and it's powered by their new Gemini 3.5 Flash model, which Google claims operates 4 times faster than rival models.
4 times faster. But raw speed isn't even the actual breakthrough here, is it?
No, not at all. The breakthrough is what they actually did with it on stage during the live demo.
This is the part of the digest that I literally had to read twice just to make sure I was understanding the scale of it.
It was pretty mind-blowing.
They demonstrated Anti-Gravity 2.0 building the core framework of a working operating system.
An entire operating system.
Yeah. And we aren't talking about like a simple mobile app or a basic website. We are talking kernel architecture, file management systems, basic UI rendering.
And it did this in about 12 hours.
12 hours. That is insane.
It really is. It launched 93 separate subagents, processed billions of tokens of information, and this is the crazy part. The total compute cost for the entire process was under $1,000.
Wow. Under $1,000 for an OS framework.
Yeah. What's fascinating here is the massive architectural shift this represents. Up until now, our interactions with AI have largely been prompt and response.
Right.
You ask a coding assistant to write a specific function, it spits out the text, you manually paste it into your project, check for errors, and then you ask for the next piece.
So it's highly sequential, very back and forth.
Exactly. But Anti-Gravity 2.0 abandons that entirely. It is about autonomous parallel agents executing incredibly complex multi-step tasks all on their own, without constant human prompting.
I was trying to conceptualize how this changes the workflow. And the best analogy I could think of is like moving from a single genius to a digital assembly line.
Oh, I like that.
Right. Because for the last couple of years, coding with AI was like hiring one super smart, incredibly fast master builder. But you still had to stand over their shoulder and dictate every single step.
Frame the walls, wait for that, now do the plumbing.
Exactly. Wait again, now wire the electricity. But Anti-Gravity 2.0 isn't the master builder. It's like hiring the factory manager.
Right.
You hand the manager the blueprints to an operating system, and they instantly spin up 93 highly specialized autonomous workers.
Working at the exact same time.
Right. One handles memory management, another handles security protocols, another does the network stack, all working simultaneously, talking to each other at the speed of light.
That parallel execution is exactly the key here. And when you factor in that these agents are natively integrated with SDKs, software development kits and databases like Firebase, you start to see the sheer compute leverage Google is attempting to offer.
It's massive.
It is. But I want to pause and pose a question directly to you, the listener. What stands out to you when you hear that the core framework of an operating system, something that typically takes a team of senior engineers years to build, can be spun up by an AI swarm over a single weekend for the cost of a mid-range smartphone?
It's a total paradigm shift.
It permanently alters the economics of software creation.
It totally shatters the barrier to entry for building complex digital infrastructure.
Yeah.
But I have to push back a little here.
Go for it.
Because capability is only half the equation, right? You can build the most revolutionary digital factory in the world, but if you treat the factory workers terribly, the whole thing falls apart.
Yes. Which brings us to the Tuesday rollout.
Tuesday's automatic update. It was, by all accounts in the digest, just an unmitigated disaster.
It really was.
So Google pushes this automatic update for Anti-Gravity 2.0 on Tuesday morning. And when software developers opened their computers, they found that their functional development environments had been forcibly converted into chat interfaces.
Just completely hijacked.
Yes. There was no warning, there was no opt-out button, and crucially, there was no way to roll the software back to the previous version.
They literally deleted the developer's workbench overnight.
The update instantly removed terminals, file explorers, and traditional editing tools from their existing setups. Help me understand this, because an integrated development environment, an IDE, is a deeply personal space for a programmer, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's customized with specific color themes, keybinds, window layouts. It's their home.
Right. And the command line interface, the CLI, is their direct tap into the machine's nervous system. Taking those away and replacing them with a chat window, it's like taking the steering wheel out of a race car and handing the driver an Xbox controller.
That is a perfect way to put it.
How does a trillion-dollar company with Google's resources essentially push an update that deletes their own users' critical tools on launch day?
It is a stunning unforced error. And I think it points to a profound disconnect between the engineers building the AI models and the actual humans who write software for a living.
They just didn't get it.
No. And the forums, as Aaron Rose documented in the digest, they lit up immediately. The Reddit, Google, anti-gravity community, and the official developer forums were completely flooded with complaints within hours of the patch going live.
Yeah, there's a quote from the digest that really captures the anger. One furious developer wrote that this entire rollout, quote, reeks of non-technical people shipping code to production.
Ouch. That is a harsh critique.
Very harsh.
But it underscores a fundamental reality of this new tech era. Raw capability means absolutely nothing without user trust.
Right.
When you break someone's workflow without permission, you violate that trust. Google panicked, obviously, and scrambled to fix it.
Yeah, they ended up eventually splitting the platform into 3 separate downloads, right?
Exactly. You now have Anti-Gravity 2.0 for the pure agent orchestration, then Anti-Gravity IDE for developers who want traditional coding with AI assistance, and finally Anti-Gravity CLI for those who still want to live and breathe in their traditional command line terminal.
But the reputational damage is largely done at this point.
Oh, definitely.
And what's wild is that Google is still doubling down on this forced transition. They confirmed they are completely shutting down consumer access to the old Gemini CLI and Code Assist IDE extensions on June 18th.
And that includes paid pro and ultra-tier users.
Right. They are dragging developers into this new chat-first paradigm, whether they like it or not.
Which is an incredibly risky gamble when you look at the wider market. If we contrast Google's behavior with their main competitors in the enterprise space, specifically Claude Code from Anthropic and Codex from OpenAI, neither of those platforms won their current market share by breaking working environments.
They didn't force a new interface on anyone.
Exactly. They gained traction by building tools that seamlessly augmented the developer's existing workflow. They met the developers where they were.
Right.
I mean, if you deploy 93 parallel agents to build an OS, that's a marvel of computer science.
Right.
But if you delete a programmer's file explorer without asking, they won't care about your 93 agents.
No, they'll just leave.
They will simply abandon your platform and move to a competitor who respects their time and their workflow.
So on the surface, Anti-Gravity 2.0's chaotic launch makes Google look vulnerable, maybe even a bit arrogant in the developer ecosystem. But this is where the digest gets really interesting for me.
Oh, yeah. The bigger picture.
Right. Because if you pull back and look at the full 2 days of Google I/O, beyond just the developer keynotes, you see a much wider, almost defensive strategy.
Yeah.
This agentic coding race is really just one piece of a massive distribution puzzle.
That is the perfect way to frame it. Sundar Pichai's opening keynote explicitly laid out this philosophy.
Right, the 10-year thing.
Yeah, he stated that we are exactly 10 years into Google's AI-first pivot, but the experimental phase is over. We are now in the phase where the average consumer just wants to see tangible, invisible value embedded in the products they already use every single day.
And the sheer scale of the numbers they drop to prove this point is staggering.
Truly massive.
We aren't talking about thousands of beta testers anymore. Google now operates 13 different products that have over 1 billion users each.
Let that sink in. 13 products.
And 5 of those products cross the 3 billion user mark. They announced that AI overviews, those AI-generated summaries at the top of your Google search results, they're now reaching 2.5 billion monthly users.
Just astronomical reach.
The dedicated Search AI mode alone hit 1 billion monthly users.
And they're aggressively weaving Gemini into the fabric of literally everything else. They showcased Gemini Spark, which operates as a 24/7 personal AI agent living in the cloud.
Oh, the glasses?
Yes. They teased the Android XR intelligent eyewear dropping this fall, partnering with Gentle Monster and Warby Parker, which essentially moves the AI off your screen and right onto your face.
Plus, they integrated AI image generation directly into Workspace with Google Pics. They added an Ask YouTube AI video search feature.
And they unveiled a personalized daily brief that autonomously pulls data from your Gmail, calendar, and tasks to just plan your day for you.
But here's what I found most revealing out of all of that. With all of these massive product integrations across billions of devices, they did not announce a new frontier model.
They really did not.
There was no Gemini 3.0 or Gemini 4.0 announcement to steal the headlines. They didn't even try to claim the top of the capability ladder or directly challenge Anthropic's flagship Mythos model for the title of smartest AI in the world.
Nope, they set that one out entirely.
And on top of that, Google confirmed a massive rumor. Their Gemini model is going to power a new, highly personalized version of Siri for Apple devices later in 2026.
Which is arguably the most significant distribution deal in the history of consumer technology.
Right. So looking at this strategy, I keep thinking about the automotive industry. It feels like Google has completely abandoned the idea of building the absolute fastest Formula One engine just to win a track race against Anthropic.
Yeah, they don't care about the track race anymore.
Instead, they are entirely focused on mass-producing a highly efficient, perfectly adequate commuter engine and putting it into the billions of sedans that people already drive to work every single day.
That's a great analogy.
But I struggle with this logic a bit. I mean, is conceding the smartest AI crown a brilliant defensive strategy, or is it incredibly dangerous?
It's a fair question.
Because if Anthropic's Mythos model is demonstrably smarter, won't power users and developers abandon Google's ecosystem anyway? Like, can a good enough AI really beat a vastly superior product in the long run?
It is a phenomenal question, and it gets right to the heart of Aaron Rose's analysis. Google is making a calculated bet that, at consumer scale, distribution beats benchmarks every single time.
Distribution beats benchmarks.
Exactly. Yes, the frontier model race, that battle over who gets the highest score on a complex PhD-level reasoning test, that is largely being won by Anthropic right now. But Google is arguing that for 99% of the global population, a PhD-level reasoning test simply doesn't matter.
Right, because if the AI is already baked into my phone's operating system, my search bar, and my smart glasses, the friction to use it is zero.
You're not going to go looking for an alternative.
Exactly. I'm not going to seek out a third-party app to summarize an email if my inbox already did it perfectly before I even clicked on it.
Precisely. The sheer ubiquity of putting Gemini 3.5 Flash in front of billions of people effectively renders the frontier model race irrelevant for everyday consumer use cases. Having 2.5 billion people using AI overviews every month, it creates an insurmountable data and habit moat.
They just become the default.
Google has stopped apologizing for not having the most mathematically powerful model and started weaponizing the fact that they own the pipes. They have the widest consumer reach on Earth, and they are just flooding those pipes with good enough AI.
Okay, so blanketing consumers with ubiquitous AI makes total sense as a defensive mode. I get that. But that strategy completely falls apart when you look at the enterprise software world.
Oh, absolutely.
A software developer at a Fortune 500 company won't accept good enough code just because it's convenient. Which brings us to the highly lucrative high-stakes battleground, where Google is fighting a fierce four-way war.
The agentic coding race.
Yeah.
And as the digest points out, this market didn't even exist in any meaningful form 18 months ago.
Which is wild to think about.
It is, but the stakes right now couldn't be higher. Whoever wins this race becomes the default infrastructure for how all future digital products are built.
Okay, let's run through these four contenders because their strategies couldn't be more different. First, you have Claude Code from Anthropic. The digest paints them as this quiet giant executing flawlessly in the background.
Yes.
They currently account for 4% of all public GitHub commits worldwide.
We really need to pause on that metric because it is staggering. 4% of all public GitHub commits means that roughly 1 out of every 25 pieces of open source software being updated globally is currently being written or heavily modified by Claude Code.
Wow. 1 in 25.
Yeah. For a tool in a brand new category, that footprint is just massive.
It's incredible, and it's driving massive valuation numbers too. They are in the final stages of closing a $950 billion valuation funding round.
Almost $1 trillion.
But more importantly, they've actually passed OpenAI in enterprise adoption. The digest highlights this massive deal deploying Claude Code to 364,000 professionals at PwC across 136 countries.
That represents deep institutional enterprise trust. They aren't flashy, they are just quietly embedding themselves into the corporate world.
Then you have OpenAI's Codex, which is taking a starkly different, highly aggressive approach.
Very aggressive. They are really leaning into their brand recognition. They have 4 million weekly active users. They just launched mobile availability on iOS and Android to capture developers on the go. And Sam Altman is practically declaring a price war.
Right. The digest mentions Altman offering 2 months of free service to companies that switch from competing tools. And the timing of that is no accident, is it?
No, not at all. It directly targets Claude Code users right after reports surface that Anthropic might be raising their enterprise prices. It feels like OpenAI is trying to commoditize the agent layer before Anthropic can lock in their enterprise dominance.
Which brings us to the third contender, Google's Anti-Gravity 2.0. As we discussed earlier, they are the absolute wild card here.
The giant wild card.
They possess massive raw compute capabilities, again, orchestrating 93 parallel agents to build an entire OS for under $1,000. But they are entering this four-way battle with a deeply bruised reputation.
Yeah, they have to convince developers to trust them again after deleting their terminals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the fourth contender. This is the one that really stopped me in my tracks.
Microsoft Copilot.
Yes. Because while Anthropic relies on enterprise trust, and OpenAI launches a price war, and Google struggles with a botched rollout, Microsoft is operating at a completely different altitude.
They really are. They aren't trying to sell a standalone coding tool. They're weaving Copilot directly into the operating system with Windows Recall, into the code repository with GitHub Workspace, into the command line with Copilot CLI, and across the entire M365 corporate suite.
They are turning agentic coding into basic utility infrastructure.
Exactly, like electricity or water.
It's like 3 people viciously fighting over who gets to pick the most beautiful flower in the garden, while a 4th person is quietly at the bank buying the deed to the entire property.
That is exactly what's happening. Microsoft isn't competing for downloads. They already have GitHub's 100 million developers, Windows 1.4 billion active devices, and effectively the entire corporate world running on M365.
They're just flipping a switch.
And I think that structural advantage is the most critical takeaway from this entire landscape. You have 4 incredibly well-resourced titans taking 4 entirely divergent paths.
Yeah.
But securing the developer ecosystem isn't just about winning a software category. It means securing the most durable enterprise revenue for the next decade.
Right. The lock-in is real.
If Microsoft successfully makes agentic coding a native layer of the Windows operating system, rather than an app you have to actively choose to install, that structural dominance might be impossible to beat, regardless of how fast Google's agents are or how logically flawless Anthropic's model is.
Wow. It's incredible to step back and look at the sheer amount of ground we've covered today.
We really went through a lot.
We started with the mind-bending reality of Anti-Gravity 2.0. You know, a digital factory manager orchestrating 93 parallel subagents to literally code an operating system from scratch while we sleep.
And then we looked at how quickly that technological magic turns to pure frustration when a tech giant forgets that human developers still need control of their own workbench, resulting in that chaotic launch day backlash.
We also explored how Google is essentially bypassing the smartest AI competition entirely, opting instead for a massive 3 billion user distribution play. They are betting that embedding Gemini into the very fabric of our internet searches and mobile devices creates an insurmountable moat that renders pure intelligence benchmarks irrelevant.
And finally, we analyzed that quiet but brutal four-way battle for the future of software creation between Claude Code, Codex, Anti-Gravity, and Microsoft Copilot.
It really hits home that the apps, the websites, and the digital infrastructure you and I will be using tomorrow are being shaped by this invisible, high-stakes war happening right now.
It is a profound, industry-wide shift. And, it leaves me with one final lingering thought for you to mull over as you go about your day.
Lay it on us.
We've established that an AI platform can now orchestrate 93 parallel agents to build an entire functional operating system in 12 hours for less than $1,000.
Yeah.
If that is true, what happens to the inherent underlying value of software itself? In a world where absolutely anyone can manifest complex digital infrastructure overnight just by asking a microphone for it, what becomes the truly scarce resource? Is it human creativity, vision, and taste? Or is it simply going to be the raw compute power required to run the swarm of agents?
That is an incredibly heavy question, and one we are all going to have to figure out the answer to sooner rather than later, especially if the tech giants keep hiding our tools from us. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the rapid changes in this tech landscape. Hold on tightly to your own digital workbench, and we will catch you next time.